Welcome to Front Range Facts. This is Anthony Meisner.
This is Jim Marion.
We're here to give you your national update, and let's talk recession.
Yeah, there's been lots and lots of talk of it, of course, and that chatter is increasing. According to Mark Zandi, economist for the Moody's Analytics, the risks are increasingly high that we're going into recession. We're not there yet, and maybe this thing gets turned around, but that's increasingly becoming hard to do with each passing week.
Well, I think what they're really looking at, there's a few factors, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk inflation to start. Inflation has remained high, right? The target rate is always 2%, but we just can't quite get it down below where we need it.
3% the new 2%, as you were saying, Anthony. So.
I think that's part of it. The other thing is, it's really different across the country right now. So certain states, which, Jim and I were looking at this, we're like, did somebody just pick up a bunch of different colors and throw them at the map? Like, it's very random. It's not like the
North
South
Dakota
is
versus
doing...
South Dakota. Like, why? Why is it so different?
Like, if Montana is struggling and Wyoming is struggling, why isn't Nebraska struggling, right? And places you'd expect, where a lot of the economic activity takes place are where we're talking about treading water.
So we're treading water in Colorado.
We're treading water. Yep.
And then when you poll Americans, 2 out of 3 Americans think a recession is coming, and 74% of Americans admit that current events are affecting their financial decisions. So they're seeing all this news, about tariffs, about increased costs, about, whatever else, and it's making them pull back economically in what they're doing.
And job growth, another big portion of this, has looked significantly worse recently. And so I think that's the one reason that people are actually even looking towards recession, right?
They're either trying to find a job or they're hearing about the struggles of people trying to find a job. And if you talk to anybody out there looking for a job, it does not sound like a fun time right now. And for the first time since 2021, there are now more job openings than there are more unemployed people than there are job openings to absorb all them. So the good news is 99% of people could conceivably find a job tomorrow, but the bad news is not everybody could, and that's usually a bad sign that there's not enough that could be absorbed.
Definitely another indicator for sure.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at the unemployment rate by section, this is where it starts to get dangerous. Those younger people, that 16 to 24, your people, whether they're in high school or getting out of college, are really struggling to find jobs. 10.5% unemployment rate, and that's risen by 2.5% since 2023. So that really tells us that there's probably cracks in the foundation at this point.
It's actually 4% since 2023 for the young kids, because this is probably a lot of the AI effect, right? The entry level jobs getting snipped out by the prevalence of companies using AI in some way, shape, or form. But then the big headline, of course, is that the revisions to jobs always happen, right? The Bureau of Labor Statistics always has to look at a lot of different things. They take surveys all the time, but then they readjust it looking at actual payroll data later on. So we've lost roughly 1 million, there's 1 million fewer jobs that have been added. There's 155
in a 12-week period.
There's 155 million jobs though in America, right? So this isn't like as big. It sounds like a big number, but when you think about it,
it's still a big number, but it's not nearly as robust as that makes it sound. But it is in a 12-week period, and it's way more than we were used to.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at, I guess this is our dose of optimism, right, Jim? Here's what you've been looking at before: is we were projected at 2.9 million jobs, kind of from this time to current. Now, it's really been projected down where
they've added 2 million basically instead of
2 million instead of 3 million jobs. So that's not great. We do have some optimism for you.
Yeah. So employment is still holding steady. So it's 4.2. Clearly, if you're a younger kid, this is not what you're seeing with that 10% increase. But overall, our unemployment rate is a very healthy, very safe 4.2% overall, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great sign. The other great sign is the fact that there really are less than 2 million job openings across the country. And, if we look back to other recessionary periods, the population in America has grown dramatically over the last 5 decades.
The amount of population has about doubled roughly from when this graph started to now, yet this is raw numbers, right? So this isn't a percent, which would stay in line with the population changes. This is actually, oh my God, we had 150, 180 million people back in 1970, and there's huge job losses of over 4 million in 1975, 76. Well, we're only at 1.946 right now, so it's not doing too bad historically.
I think it's fairly stable.